All right, everybody. 2024 election results in the swing state of North Carolina. There were 16 electoral votes up for grabs. Donald Trump won it by about 3 percentage points. Voter turnout was down a little bit compared to 2020. We still had a lot of votes to count there. 16 electoral votes, like I mentioned. Interestingly enough, it was the only state of the 7 swing states, North Carolina right here, that Trump had won in 2020. So as you can see, all these other ones blue. They went for Joe Biden. Trump won North Carolina by a slim margin, a little bit slimmer than what he won it by in 2016, but won it nonetheless in 2020. Is the only state he won, and then he improved on that win by about 1.6 points. Let's break down how this happened, why this happened. So you can see here, just taking a rough look at the state. A lot of the counties went red, but you're typically going to see that in most of your states. It seems like lower populated counties go red most of the time, and the more populated counties tend to go blue. For example, here, if we go down to the bi-county results, the 5 most populated counties, Wake, Mecklenburg, Guilford, Forsyth, and Cumberland, all went for Kamala Harris or the Democratic candidate. As you can see, Mecklenburg by a big margin there, 577,000 votes. Let's get down here a little bit more. Wake, 653,000 votes. Again, a big win for Kamala. Let's go up again to Guilford, Forsyth, and Cumberland. And we've got Forsyth there, 204,726 votes, 55.76% for Kamala. Cumberland with 140,000 people, 56% for Kamala. And Guilford, 285,000 people, 60% for Kamala. So that held pretty strong for Democrats. One of the problems was, if we go down here in some of the analysis, there was actually 3 counties we had that flipped from Democrat to Republican, and that's not a good sign when in 2020 you still lost the state. You did a little bit better with Biden's performance, but you're looking to flip some of those counties or have some bigger margins than you did last time in some of those counties. And the aforementioned big Democratic counties that I talked about actually didn't show up as well as Democrats would have wanted for Kamala Harris. In fact, all 5 of those counties Trump gained some percentages, anywhere from like 0.2, 0.3% to like a whole point. Just take, for example, Cumberland, big amount of votes there, 57.4% for Biden to 40.8% for Trump. And then we look up here at Cumberland County one more time. Yeah, pretty nice jump there for Trump, nearly 2 percentage points. And again, this matters a lot in a county that has 140,000 votes. Looks like Forsyth, 42.64% for Trump, 42.26. So not too much of a jump, but a jump nonetheless, a swing right. We can check Guilford, 38.27%, 285,000 votes. Again, a monster number. Let's check Guilford in 2020. Okay, yeah, slight jump, right? 37.72 to 38.27. Yeah, again, so slight, but these are things that they start to compound, and that's where you go from a 1.4% win for Trump in 2020 to a 3-point margin in 2024 when you're kind of picking from these big counties. And the same trend continued with Wake County, 35.8% in 2020 for Trump. And in 2024, we saw 36.22%. So another increase right there. Let's look at our last big county, Mecklenburg. Very, very strong Democrat leaning here, a stronghold for Democrats, you might say, 65.19%. Now let's look at how Joe Biden did. He did a little bit better, 66%, right? So a whole another percent. So Kamala and Democrats, their strategy should be, hey, in these big counties, we have to run up the margins. We have to like get Mecklenburg to 70%. Then you'd probably have a pretty good chance at winning North Carolina. But when you lose ground on your stronghold counties, that is going to present a pretty big problem. So those are like our big counties, but there are still some with some decent populations. North Carolina is an interesting state, like Onslow here with 81,000, not too small of a county. Went for Trump very comfortably. I think that could be a little bit of a story as well. As we go through here, some other decently big counties right here. Union County, 139,000 people, and it goes for Trump by a big margin. Let's keep looking down here. Let's look at our three counties that flipped, right? And that's kind of a nightmare. 51.8% just flipped in Pasquotank County. Hope I'm saying that right. It went very slim to Biden, but again, going from Trump from 49% to 51%, a whole 2% increase is a pretty big deal. Only 20,000 people. Let's look at our other two counties here. Nash County, where's there? It is 50.37% for Trump this time. 52,000 people, not small. So yeah, 50.37% there. Let's look at what Biden won it at. Okay, so yeah, a little bit of an increase there. Again, very slight, very small margin there. So what I'm kind of getting at here, looking at this data, is I'm not sure if these three counties that flipped really decided the election in North Carolina, but I think it's certainly kind of trended towards that pattern. Anson County was the last one, 10,800 votes, kind of minuscule in the grand scheme of things, but again, like I was saying, it trends towards that pattern of Trump taking this state by a bigger margin. Let's just see how much he increased. So, well, that's kind of a big increase. 47.53% for Trump in 2020, all the way to 50.80%. Okay, yeah, if that was a bigger county, maybe it had like 80, 100,000 people or something like that. That one might have been a pretty big story with Anson County, but I'm not sure just because the votes are so low. So what the Republicans have to try to do in 2028 is try to flip some more of these counties and extend their leads, and then Democrats need to try to regain some of those counties they lost, and then really run it up in their monster counties like Forsyth, Durham's a big county, and just get their margins more increased, register voters, things like that, uh, to try to take over this state. What's really interesting, if we look back right here at North Carolina, is out of the last 10 elections, it has went red, but it's always a swing state. 2004 to 2000 really wasn't. 92 and 96, again, a video is coming out about that, about Ross Perot and how he affected that election. But in 1988, 2000, 2004, it didn't really seem like a swing state at all. And then Obama gets this in 2008. I mean, just a shocker. Let's actually look back at that for a moment. Let's look at Obama. So we can go through here. So Trump wins in 2016. Romney wins it from Obama after Obama won it. Wins it by about 2 points there. Let's look at Obama here, how he was able to pull this off. Very tight margin. Let's look at some of these counties. Anson County, look at how much that went Democratic. We were just talking about that flipping in 2024. Let's look at some of these. Forsyth, yeah, pretty big margin there, 54%. Durham, I think that's bigger. Cumberland, I think that's a nice margin there. Guilford, good, nice margin. Let's just see here. Oh, took this county by a good margin. It seems to be a little bit of a bellwether county, Pasquotank and Anson County. What was the other one? Nash. Okay, Nash went Republican still. Okay, interesting. Let's look at like Wake. Wake went 56% for Obama, and 2024, Wake actually went, wow, more for Kamala. That's interesting. I don't know. Obama must have just flipped some counties. Oh, wow. Yep. There's the answer. So he didn't necessarily extend so much on those big populous urban strongholds. He decided to flip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 counties. So wow, it can be done. It can be done. And folks, there'll be more predictions coming out from me, but in 2028, I expect wholeheartedly North Carolina to be a swing state. It's trends, it's things like this, flipping 10, 12, 13 counties. That's pretty insane. And again, although it kind of has been, at least on our, just looking at our map here, it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. North Carolina, it's been the most reliably for one side. This is still a tight swing state, and look at these margins. The last 5 elections really. So we will be covering this again in 2026, 2028. It's going to be a close state, even though it tends to go a little bit Republican. Something that was very interesting in doing the research for this video is I was looking at some voter registration data before the election happened, so in about October 2024 or so, when they did their voter registration by parties in North Carolina. Very interestingly, the Democrats had an advantage of about 120,000 registered voters. Um, Most of the states who've done in this series have been Republican leading in the registered voters, and then they subsequently went Republican, which, I mean, the correlation, it makes sense. But North Carolina has been kind of more Republican, as we can see in our chart here, than even like Arizona, who's went twice Democrat, Georgia, who's went twice Democrat, and it still has less registered Republican voters than Democrat, at least back when the election was happening, right, in October 2024, and people are getting registered to vote. So North Carolina, I think, is the true definition of a swing state. Don't let a graph like this necessarily like fool you. I mean, obviously this tells you that it's still close, but don't let yourself think that, hey, it's a foregone conclusion, it's going to go red even if it's tight. North Carolina is extremely interesting, and we have to see how that voter registration progresses into future elections if Democrats keep extending on that lead. It sounds like Democrats didn't show up well enough for Kamala Harris in North Carolina, or even maybe independents showed up more for Trump. And that kind of leads me into my next part of the analysis here. Let's look at North Carolina. Okay, so things that stand out to me right away. 50% of the Hispanic vote, and again, only 8% of the respondents, and that's out of, I mean, over a million so like votes. So take it with a grain of salt, but I mean, exit polls are generally pretty accurate. Kind of good like sample data we can look at to extrapolate. So Hispanic and Latino, a little over half, or I guess right at half, 50% to 49%. Let's see how that compares with any national averages. Okay, so different, right? This is just national exit polls. 51% of Latinos went blue compared to 46% for red. So right there is like a 4-point swing in favor of Trump or Republicans right there. Very interesting. Whites went 57%. Okay, very interesting. Went 57% nationally, 62%. So the white vote kind of it always skews red, but it went even further to the right in North Carolina, and so did the Hispanic vote. Looks like the black vote's pretty much on par, 86 to 12. National polls, 86 to 13. Okay, I don't have a ton of data on Asian or other. Let's keep searching here. Control F. Independent. Yes, I wanted to see this. So um, both of like the partisan, like Democrat, Republican, they showed up and were loyal. 96% of people that identify as a Democrat went and voted for the Democrat candidate versus 3% voted Republican, and then vice versa with this party. This kind of tells a story. And look at this: independents were the majority. Independents were the majority, and that was actually when you looked at the voter registration data in October, how I said Democrats had 120,000 vote lead. Um, Other or independent actually had a majority over both of them, and that checks out here with 35% being independent versus 34, 32%. And so that was the majority, and that kind of decided the selection, I think, in North Carolina, and it swung right by 4 points. Let's check how it did nationally. So if I do my trick again, independent. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it was above the national average for right leaning. So not only was the independent the majority last time, and here in second place, but 49% only for Democrat, 46% for Republican, and then in North Carolina exit polls, it did not get to 49%, it got to 47%, and then 51% for Republican. So if you're looking at North Carolina, why it turned, flipped 3 counties. Trump flipped 3 counties back to Republican. Or it didn't turn. North Carolina didn't turn. Why he extended the lead. Flipped 3 counties. The top 5 biggest populous counties, Democratic strongholds, shifted ever so slightly to the right, so Democrats didn't gain any votes. And then independents went above the national average towards the right, and so did the Hispanic and Latino vote in North Carolina, which I think was underrated part of like the discussion. I think a lot of people were talking about that more in like Arizona and New Mexico, or not New Mexico, Nevada, because of the high Hispanic population. But still, 8% or so. I mean, that's a big difference. That went for Trump above the national average, and even the white vote did. So a combination of all that kind of put North Carolina in. Hey, it's a comfortable 3-point win for Trump, and something. I mean, Polymarket was kind of predicting that there's like a 60-70% chance it's going to go for Trump, but still going to be tight. Still going to be very tight moving forward. Don't sleep on the state of North Carolina as far as like predictions and being a swing state. It's going to be very interesting as time goes on. We'll continue to do looking at the data videos with North Carolina, seeing where voter registrations are, because I think it's going to be one of our more interesting states. And we'll see next time if this Latino vote goes 53% for the Democrat and 47 or 46% for Republican. I mean, how much does that swing? That independent vote goes down. All very interesting stuff in North Carolina. Um, as always, like, subscribe, share the video, comment something positive, negative, what you want to see, what you agree with, what you disagree with. Love all that interaction. And thank you guys.